Hello everyone, welcome to my channel for Nursing Exams Learning. In this video, we will discuss meningitis. So what you have an idea about meningitis? It is an inflammation of the meninges in the brain and spinal cord. And how does it occur? It is mainly caused by a specific type of bacteria. For example, group B streptococcus or meningococcal bacteria, then pneumococcal pathogens and some virus. It can be occur as a primary disease or it can be a complication of neurosurgery, trauma, systemic infections or infection of the ear. So these are some of the basic points that we should keep in our mind for exam purpose. Now we will see what are the main symptoms in an adult client. When we will come to the central nervous system, client may report severe headache and altered mental health status. Then they have a problem with the bright light. They dislike the bright light. And the client have a severe muscles pain, then fatigue. And when we'll go to the skin, there will be spots or rashes on the body and blotchy skin. Then the gastrointestinal system, client will report stomach pain, vomiting, nausea. And other some of the systemic signs and symptoms are high fever, seizure, then stiff neck, sleeplessness or difficulty walking. So these are some of the common signs and symptoms or the clinical features that we can see in an adult client who is diagnosed with meningitis. But when we will come to a child, especially those who below 2 years age, there are some difference in the signs and symptoms. In the child, we can see a symptom that is called a bulging fontanelle. We know that the anterior and posterior fontanelle. In the anterior fontanelle, usually it will close on 18 months after delivery, and the posterior fontanelle usually it will close within 2 months. So in this, the client who have a problem with the meningitis, there will be a bulging fontanelle and high pitched cry, then poor feeding, and they have a very rigid neck, lethargic, photophobia, also have the same symptoms that we'll see in adult like vomiting, nausea, then like a fast shallow breathing, then skin rashes, client will be or the child will be very irritable, extreme shivering, then floppy limbs and cold hands and feet. Seizures also. So these are some of the symptoms when we compare with an adult client and child. Hope the signs and symptoms you got the idea. Now we will see what are some of the exams or the signs for meningitis. This is a very important aspect. I have seen many questions related to these points. So when a client diagnosed or is suspected with meningitis, the healthcare provider will do an examination. That is, we'll call Kernicks and Brodsky sign. So how the Kernicks signs they will perform? The client will be in a supine position, and in the picture you can see the thighs will be flexed 90 degree, and that time the client could not able to extend the leg. There will be a severe pain while the examiner trying to extend the leg. So if it shows like this, that means the Kernicks sign is positive, which means the client have a problem of meningitis. That is a confirmation signs that you're using for the meningitis. Then next one is the Brodsky sign. So what is happening in the Brodsky sign? Now the client in a supine position and the doctor just trying to flex the neck little forward. So that time automatically the knees or the legs will be flexed. So that is called a Brodsky sign positive. So these are two signs, just keep in mind, Kernicks signs and Brodsky sign. Then the another point, that is opisthotonous position. In the first picture you can see the right side, that is the signs of meningeal irritation. It's like a boat shape. Then for the child, another symptom that we can see, that is hydrocephalus, increased ICP, then sunsetting eyes. So just keep all these points in your mind because the questions have some connections, especially most of the questions in our areas are related on these points. Now we will move to the diagnostic procedures. What is the confirmation of diagnostic procedures? Now we already study, so when the healthcare provider or the examiner will check this Kernig sign, Brudensky sign, opisthonos position, then sunsetting eyes, all these things are connected. Then the confirmation of meningitis will be done by the examination of CSF, cerebrospinal fluid. So if it is a bacterial meningitis, the CSF will be cloudy. We know that the normal CSF will be clear. And the same time, the normal CSF, the glucose is the one more. But when the client have an infection of meningitis, the glucose will be low, especially in bacterial meningitis, and WBC protein will be high. And also the CSF pressure also will be increased. So that is some changes that we can see in CSF analysis or examination. Then another test will perform, that is called a glass test for meningeal rash. We know that the client have rash in the body. So we'll take a glass and that glass will press against the rash. In the picture you can see, if the rash it fade means that is not a meningeal rash. If it is not fade, which means this is a meningeal rash. So we can differentiate whether it is a meningeal rash or not. In the picture it's clear. In the first picture it shows it is not faded, which means it's a meningeal rash, and the second one is fade, so that is not a meningeal rash. I hope it's clear to you. Now we will move to nursing management. We all know that when a client comes to the emergency department as a suspected case of meningitis, the first thing the nurse or the healthcare provider should do that initiate the droplet precaution isolation. Then the meningococcal meningitis and Haemophilus influenza type B meningitis are highly transmissible to others. That's why when a client comes to the emergency as a suspected case, the first thing we will do droplet isolation precaution to prevent the transmission to the healthcare providers and other clients. Is that clear? Then when we can discontinue this droplet precaution? Precautions can be usually discontinued 24 hours after beginning the antibiotic therapy. That is very important. 24 hours after beginning the antibiotic therapy. Then the viral meningitis or other type of bacterial meningitis, that is example meningococcal meningitis, usually do not require droplet precaution. But in the initial time we don't know whether it is meningococcal. So that's why all client who suspected will start on droplet precaution. Then we'll start antibiotic therapy, we'll find out everything. We will just differentiate based on the points. Then the client should be provided with a very quiet environment, minimize exposure to bright light, because in the same symptom we studied that dislike bright light, that is also a sign. Then decrease environmental stimuli. Then maintain bed rest with the head of the bed elevated at least 30-degree angle. Then monitor client for increased ICP. So what are the measures we should check for increased ICP? Then what we should instruct the client? Try to avoid straining or coughing, sneezing, because that will again worsen the ICP, or again it will increase the ICP. Then replace fluid and electrolytes. Seizure precautions, that is also a signs and symptoms of meningitis. Implement fever reduction measures such as cooling blanket if necessary. Prevention of complication, especially pneumonia in older adults. Then when we will come to the pediatric, the complications will be different. Then the prophylactic antibiotics given to the individuals, those who are close with the client, those who have a close contact with the client. That is also a point should keep in mind. Prophylactic antibiotic should be given to individuals, those who have close contact with the client. Then the vaccination is an important point, that is called Haemophilus influenza type B vaccine or HIP vaccine for infants. Then another vaccine related to meningitis, that meningococcal vaccine for adolescents who are living in a residential setting in college or military persons against Neisseria meningitis, because the chances of getting Neisseria meningitis is common when they are living in such a residential setting, especially in college students or military persons. So preventing that, they should receive meningococcal vaccine for prevention. Then another one is called pneumococcal polysaccharide vaccine, PPSV. This vaccine mainly for adults who are immunocompromised, then those who have a chronic disease, or those who are smokers, then live in a long-term care facility. So those category clients or people should receive this PPSV vaccine. Give one dose to adult older than 65 years of age who have not previously been vaccinated nor have a history of disease. So that is the instruction for this vaccine. So these are some of the main points related to the meningitis. We have studied what is meningitis and what are the signs and symptoms in both in adult and child. Then what are the bacteria will cause meningitis and how the vaccination will be different for different category. Then the nursing management and the diagnostic evaluations and other signs, Kerning signs, Brodensky signs, then opisthonos position, then sunsetting eyes. These are the main points. I hope it's clear to you. Most probably on the coming video we'll discuss some questions related to meningitis, so you will get more idea about this one. Bye for now. Study well and do well for your exams. All the best.